the biggest challenge is to actually understand what is it that you want. You might want something, but you don't know it yet, or you don't know how to get there. That's the biggest thing. I think people need this, you know.
I agree.
Because it brings light into people's lives, you know.
Yeah.
Like if you want interested, whether they want to do it professionally or they just really like the music and they want to support the people.
Yeah.
And I think it's important that people realize that the people that they admire, that are playing these instruments and are doing this music that they really care about, they're humans. They're human beings.
Absolutely.
You know? And that's really how you should look at it. You shouldn't be looking at it like, oh, you know, here's a God. No. I mean, I certainly think that those people that we all admire, they were touched by something. But the humanity in them was really what allowed them to do what they did, you know? Like, you know, you think about Train, you know, just the other day I went back to check out those recordings of Train when he was at the military in doing like the you know, the Navy in Hawaii and stuff like that, trying to play bebop, and he really couldn't play.
Wow.
Really could not play. He was trying to play that bird, and he sort of had an idea. I think he understood everything harmonically, because, you know, the things about birds playing, they were always in Trains playing.
Mm-hmm.
But he was coming from a different thing, harmonically and rhythmically, you know. And I mean, you know, he's someone who wasn't by any means a child prodigy or anything like that.
Right.
He became what he became through determination and a lot of practicing.
Mm-hmm.
But most importantly, you know, that connection, you know, where he actually himself just, you know, and I mean, you're a Christian man. You'll understand what I'm talking about. He gave himself to God.
Yeah.
You know, and everything he did was because of God. You know,
and
his music, he understood, he came through that, and that was his belief, and that was the way he played. And he played in a way that was faulty, like a human, and that's what he was looking for. It's like he was trying to communicate with God, and he was trying to be cleansed through his own music. You know, so
I remember when I studied with you in the last year of my undergrad. We had the very first lesson, and I remember leaving that lesson, and I was like, okay, that's it. I wanted something more, because I came into that lesson knowing you're playing, and I requested to study with you, and I was so excited. And knowing you're playing, I came into that lesson thinking that I was going to get all of this understanding about advanced stuff on how to play outside and all of that stuff, but your approach was so simple and so clear. Learn to play the saxophone, work on technique daily, and check out Charlie Parker. You know, that was the two strongest pieces of advice that I got from studying with you. And my understanding wasn't that you were not just saying, well, Charlie Parker is the only thing, but in terms of the idea of understanding the foundations of the bebop language, which has become the foundation for most of the music that we play. So that's something that I've also benefited from, and also has sent me down a path of really just trying to go backwards and learn the music in that I'm most passionate about, the origins of the music, but then also just learn how to play the saxophone. You know, it's something that's been really helpful to me. How have you worked on developing technique and learning how to play the saxophone? I imagine that from season to season of your life, that would have looked differently depending on what your goals were. But
Right.
how have you worked on it, and also how do you work on it now?
Well, in the beginning, I mean, like I said, I didn't come from a family of musicians, so music, other than being able to sing in tune, music was completely new to me. So, you know, having an education like the kind of education that I had was great, you know, was really helpful. And I just, you know, I follow my teacher's advice, you know. There's a book that's called H. Close, like Complete Method for All Saxophones. That's what I started on.
Okay.
And I was on that book from grade 5 till grade 9.
Okay.
Once I got to grade 10, then that's where they got me started on the Marcel Mule book, which is what people know in North America as the Furling book, right?
Yep.
And that is one of the most complicated books that exist out there, because this one, it's tackling a lot of different things. It is super complex technically, but also there are 2 pieces for each key. Yeah. One slow and one fast. And you know, I think I played, I want to say 25 of them. Okay. And I was struggling by the end. And there's like, I think they're like 45 or something. You know, that is a hard book, really hard. And I read lots of blogs and stuff where people talk about this, and only the super hardcore classical guys, you know, I've gotten to the end of it. You know, all the people like the Paris Conservatoire and all that. But I mean, all these kinds of things. There are other books, like technical books by like Guy Lacour. In, you know, at some point, of course, maybe grade 11 or, well, I mean, even before that, I was already playing like classical repertoire for saxophone. But yeah, it was a combination of all these things. You know, I remember my teacher came from France, and he showed us this video of this kid. He must have been maybe 11. Okay. And he was playing scales, you know, like the French way of playing scales, how we talked in the lesson. Yeah. Right. But this kid was doing the scales. I was able to do it for a little bit because I got really into it, but I don't think I could do it now. He was doing each scale, what was it? So like 5 times, breathing once, or like 7 times, you know, and that was like insane. Wow. You know, I mean, at this point, I do think that the French with their school, they've also kind of gone too far with the technique. Okay. You know, like if you actually think about you know, the classical school and how it started, like Marcel Mule. In fact, Marcel Mule played on a metal mouthpiece, and you know, and it's kind of funny because if you think about it, you know, in America, actually, I don't like the term America because America is a continent. Yeah. In the United States, you have people like, you know, Coleman Hawkins and Ben Webster, like, you know, Leslie Young, and they had a very expressive sound, which actually was on par with the way that Marcel Mule played. If you listen to the recordings of Marcel Mule play, he didn't play the saxophone like how they play it now in France. Like now they play like the sound. It's almost like apologizing that it's a saxophone. It's like very, very like small sounding. Yeah. Almost no, you know, emotion on the sound. You know, whereas Marcel Mule played with a metal mouthpiece, like huge sound, lots of vibrato. You know, like that kind of thing, right? So, but in terms of playing the saxophone, it was really helpful for me to be surrounded by that. And yes, the you know, my practicing and the things that I've done change noticeably with the years, because as you get older, you got more responsibilities and you have basically less time to practice. So now I try to be very specific about my practice. And I get my phone out and I find a reed, and I make sure that it works on all registers and stuff. I work my reeds with a reed gig thing, so I work on every reed every time before I start playing.
Okay.
And the first thing I do, it's 10 to 15 minutes of long tones.
Okay.
Every day.
Okay.
Then I'll move into the scales. How we talked about it.
Yeah.
If I have time, I move to the scales, and then I'll do all 24 scales.
So you're starting on the low B flat, and then cool.
The long tones, just to make it a little bit easier for me.
Yeah.
I have started to begin on just like low G.
Right.
You know. Then I go up to C or C sharp.
Yeah.
Then I go to middle G. Okay. And I work my way down to D.
Okay, yeah.
Then I go to altissimo G.
And
I work my way down chromatically back to middle G. Then I go back to low G, and I do the rest down. I only I found that the more prepared I was for the lower notes, the less I would have to struggle with it.
Right.
But then, by the time I get to to start my scales, then I can start them in low B flat.
Right. And so you're separating, you're approaching it sort of like in registers or in ranges. Right. Okay.
Right.
Cool.
Right.
Would you mind sharing how you work on scales, even though I know, just for the audience?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the way I work in the scales, it's how the French do it. I got it from the what is it? It's the Jean-Marie Londex book, and this is how they do it in the conservatoire, or at least how they did it, right? So the idea is that you cover the scale first, then you do thirds, then you do fourths, then you do the aperture, you cut a major scale, then you do the dominant, and then you go on the minor scale, then you do the diminished, right?
Okay. Yep.
All right. So. Exactly like that, but instead of playing, of course, the dominant, you're playing the major. So I do C flat, major, minor, E major, minor, C major, minor, C sharp, major, minor.
Yeah.
Work my way. You know, at some point, with my teacher and three of the other students, or three older students of saxophone, that were maybe even younger or older than me, we used to do that at the beginning of the day. Just put on a metronome, and it was way faster. Like now I don't have I'm not attending school anymore, so I can read whatever I want and all that. But when he used like hardcore, then he used to be hardcore. And I find, like, especially for playing jazz, this is another thing that I've seen. Kids will know all kinds of jazz skills, and they don't even know major and minor skills. So they're talking about all these skills and stuff like that, and they don't even know how major and minor skills work, right? And
the two main diatonic systems. Yeah.
Exactly. You know, and I think that would be key to try to improvise, because first and foremost, improvisation is not exclusive with jazz.
Right.
You know, in all sorts of forms of music around the world, there's improvisation.
Mm-hmm.
So just because it doesn't sound jazz doesn't mean you're not improvising. You know,
Mm.
so knowing your major and minor scales is key, right? Also, you're covering all the real estate of the horn. You know,
Right. Yeah. That's amazing. Is there something that you've been working on in most recent times that's kind of taking you towards a new goal on your instrument?
well, actually, it's funny that you mentioned that because only on Monday I got a message from a really great friend of mine, Aldo Salben,
Okay.
saxophonist from Cuba who lives in Miami, and he's a great saxophonist composer. He's a teacher of the classical saxophone studies at University of Miami, Pros
Oh.
University,
Mm-hmm.
and he's done his master's in jazz, and I think he's doing his PhD in jazz as well. So he sent me. There's a video of him. Well, it's a video that he's putting together. He's got a series of videos on YouTube
Yep.
now that he's put together, and they're like covering various topics. But I think there's one that's coming out today.
Okay. Wow.
I'm playing one of his new etudes for Altissimo.
Wow.
You know, and he came out with two books that he just sent me, and they're great. So I'm actually really excited to dig into this stuff, and I'll play a little bit of the one that I
Yeah, I'd love that. I'd love that.
yeah.
It's really been a pleasure talking with you about your own journey and about those ideas of, music being music and playing the saxophone being separate spheres, but how they overlap. And I really love the idea of just making sure that you're addressing the human condition through your music. Before we wrap up today, I have a rapid fire question game that I would like us to play called 3, 2, 1. So I'd like you to share 3 albums that have been influential, 2 saxophone players that have been influential for you, and leave our audience with 1 piece of advice.
Three records that were influential to me.
Yeah.
I mean, 3 it's too little numbers, but off the top of my head that I could think of, Charlie Parker with strings,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
John Coltrane and A Loud Supreme,
Mm-hmm.
and Miles Davis, Miles Smile.
Wow. Okay.
I mean, those are 3. I'm trying to think things that are very different from one another.
Right. Yeah.
So
cool. And who were 2 saxophone players that were really influential for you?
I mean, again, the list will need to be a lot longer, but I would say the most important ones would be Charlie Parker and John Coltrane.
Okay, cool. Yeah. And what's 1 piece of advice you want to leave with the audience?
To always always follow your natural instinct.
Wow.
You're gonna have people, in whatever it is that you do, especially if you happen to be a creative person, you're gonna have all kinds of people trying to diminish what you do, trying to talk you out of it. Don't listen to them. Just continue on your journey, and you'll find yourself. Just believe in yourself. Keep going. If it speaks to you, if you feel it in your gut, just go for it.
Man, whew, I'm accepting that piece of advice right now. Thank you so much. It's really been a pleasure to sit down with you and
Thank you, Matt. Thank you.
And chat again. If you're listening and you want to connect with Luis, you can go check his website. What's your website again, Luis?
It's luisdenizmusic.com.
Amazing. He's also on Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah.
What's your handle on Instagram?
Luis Deniz Music.
Amazing. So across all platforms, Luis Deniz Music. Thank you again, Luis. If you're listening, thanks so much for checking out this episode of the podcast. And I hope that this conversation was both inspirational and empowers you to keep taking ground in your personal and professional and also creative journeys as a saxophone player. I'll catch you guys on the next episode. Take care.
Thanks, Jesse.
Thank you, Luis.